let's go ahead and get going here. We have a jam-packed session. So first and foremost, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon on how you can expand your business with Copilot for Microsoft 365. I'm so excited today that my good friend Per joined us. He'll talk about the opportunities for AI, especially in the Microsoft ecosystem. And at the same time, I'll walk through this cool Copilot technology, and more importantly, how we can start building a business around it as partners. Now, quick logistics here. This session will be recorded, so everything we're going to show you, you get a chance to review it and share it. All the materials will be shared as well. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to pop in the chat. My colleague Meryl would be monitoring the chat. And if you have questions that you want to get answered right away, feel free to raise your hand. I'll be more than happy to answer it. So with that, Per, are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Well, if you don't mind, folks, if you can pop in the chat and just let us know where you're joining us from, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Okay, all right. There you go. So, Per?
Yep.
All you.
Thank you. Please click. So my name is Per Wörngren. I've kind of started the IMCP, International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners, and I've been to Denmark so many times visiting IMCP meetings. So my business is advising Microsoft partners, and I also run a startup called ID Next, doing hosting in a modern way, utilizing Microsoft Azure as data centers. Click.
Okay.
So AI, I think that AI is a great opportunity for Microsoft partners. It is huge, and it is something that we need to build together with customers. The business is sometimes not obvious, but there are things that you can do in order to test the market, build knowledge, and gain the rewards. So I see that there are two tracks for AI for partners. One is internal. That is what you can do for your business to become more efficient. And the other one is external, what you can do for your customers to help them become more efficient. Click. So AI within your own organization, all Microsoft partners look different, but there are some commonalities. First thing is that marketing is really the low-hanging fruit when it comes to utilizing AI. In the past, you had to spend hours writing product sheets. You had to sometimes hire external writers, hiring external bureaus with experts in order to create something, and it took a long time and it was costly. But thanks to AI, you can instantly get pretty good drafts of what you want to write up, and you can create videos. You can have videos being narrated by famous voices, because everything is out there in the cloud and it is easy to use, especially when it comes to marketing. So I think that is really low-hanging fruit. The other thing is software development. Thanks to GitHub Copilot, you can now create software code at an instant. Of course, you need to prompt it the right way, but we say that you can generate like 80% of the software code using GitHub Copilot. And that is huge. Then you can spend all your time creating the remaining 20% and changing if it needs to be changed the first 80%. So software development will never look the same again. Thanks to GitHub Copilot and other competitive technologies, you can become so much more efficient. And then it is up to you how much you pass on to your customer and how much you use in order to boost your bottom line profits. So that is really huge. We have been talking about low code for quite some time, and the next level of low code is using Copilot in Power Apps, which makes it even easier. Well, it was easy before with Power Apps creating code, but thanks to Copilot, you can now even easier create code. And that is extraordinary. So I think that we'll see a lot of software developers having to change their skill sets because they will almost become redundant, or they will become experts and they can focus on what is more fun instead of just writing vanilla code. If you are an ISV, and a lot of Microsoft partners are ISVs, adding an AI component is something that you should have on your roadmap. For some, it is not relevant, but for most, there is an AI thing that you can add to your product in order to spice it up. So start having conversations about what AI component you want to add right away. And it always takes time for an ISV to add functionality, but I think it should be part of your roadmap. And if you click, next thing is AI for your customers. And this is something that many partners are really thinking about. How can they become successful when it comes to helping customers? First thing is strategic advice. You can advise your customers, you will become the trusted advisor, help them think about AI, think about what business processes that can be enhanced using AI or simplified using AI. And strategic advice is also something that will feed projects to your professional services organization. And when it comes to projects, well, implementing AI, that is sometimes easy, but you need to do things before that. You need to clean up your data. You need to classify your data so that your Copilot will not read all data, not read the classified data. And yesterday, Dax showed us what GitHub can do if you let it loose and you have unstructured, non-classified data. Well, passwords and salaries, information that shouldn't be out in the open, is something that Copilot will read and draw conclusions from. So cleaning up data, structuring data is something that is a big thing for customers, and helping them clean up their data and structure it paves the way for successful AI implementations. I want to highlight 3 things: SharePoint Premium, and of course, Microsoft 365 Pilot and Copilot in Microsoft Fabric. 2 things that will help Microsoft 365 Copilot to become better. So these are technologies that I think that you need to invest time in learning, understanding, and especially for the ones that are in the field of modern work, SharePoint. If you click. Next thing is that why not help your customers with new Copilots? Copilots that are built just for a specific customer. And that is something that you can easily do with Copilot Studio. And I think that you should invest time understanding Copilot Studio and understanding Azure AI Studio. 2 tools that will help your customers. And this is something that you should pilot internally before you take it to customers. Because AI is really internal wave and external wave. The other thing is, why not sell maintenance contracts for AI? That gives you a steady revenue stream for your customers month by month, but also a reason to keep in touch with your customers, to have meetings with your customers where you can discuss potential projects. And the beautiful thing is that your customers will pay for these meetings. So maintenance contracts shouldn't be expensive, but they should be there. And when you have 10 or 20 together, it will give you a meaningful revenue stream. And restructuring software development. What I said that you should do internally if you have software developers is something that you can bring to your customers. You can help them, if they are into software development, to streamline, to become more efficient, and to become so much more successful. Great projects. But most of this starts with giving your customers strategic advice. If you click. So don't be left behind. You've heard it before. So build your journey start to plan it and use AI as much as you can internally, both for gaining knowledge, but also to becoming trustworthy when you have conversations with your customers. And the ones that move early will build reputation, and Microsoft are eager to find partners, to find more partners that are really embracing AI. Microsoft wants to partner with Microsoft partners that are deep into AI, that have an ambition for becoming the best in their field. So it's a great opportunity because this is uncharted waters. There are so many partners out there, but there are not so many that are really embracing AI. More and more, of course, but it's a huge opportunity to become popular inside Microsoft. And when you become popular inside the Microsoft office, you know that you will get opportunities to work together with customers, where Microsoft opens up the door for you. So be part of the future. So much more fun than being part of the past.
I love it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Per, for that great introduction. And thanks again, everybody, for allowing Per to kind of paint the picture of the opportunities for AI beyond what we're going to talk about today. So with that, I want to jump on to the second part of this conversation, where I want to focus on Copilot for Microsoft 365 and also show you some demos, but also talk to you about how we can certainly build a business around it. So if you give me 1 second here, there you go. And then let me kind of bring this up for y'all. Okay, so for the remainder of the time, I'm going to walk through how you can build your MSP business with Copilot for Microsoft 365. So for the benefit of everyone, before we talk about how you build your business, I'm going to share what is Copilot for Microsoft 365. We're going to talk about why it's important to establish a strong data foundation for your customers. And then last but not the least, we'll talk about how you can enable recurring revenue for your business. So first and foremost, let's talk about Copilot. Before I jump into Copilot for Microsoft 365, for everybody's knowledge, the word Copilot is Microsoft's brand for all of their AI assistant. So when you hear Copilot, really there's tons of Copilot that Microsoft offers today. Now, quick test for everybody in this call. How many Copilots are there available today? Like as of 1 o'clock today, how many Copilots does Microsoft have? Anybody? Pop in the chat. Take a quick guess. I'll give you the answer, but I'm curious. Melissa, I love Melissa's answer. Okay. How many Copilots are available today that Microsoft provides? Plus minus 50. Okay, Tony. Okay. Anybody else? Maybe a couple more guesses. You got 160, you got plus minus 50. I'll take one more. 40. Okay. The answer is 97. So there are about 97 Copilots out there today. Now, what do you mean by 97, Docs? You see, you know how Microsoft loves to use one brand for different things? You know, back in the day, they have Skype for Business, they have Teams, they have Teams Premium, Teams Community, you know, like all these same name, but different versions of it. So no different with Copilot. If you see Microsoft Copilot, that's like the big umbrella brand for all their AI assistant. Copilot for Microsoft 365 is one of those 97. And within Copilot for Microsoft 365, you have Copilot for Teams, Copilot for Word, Copilot for PowerPoint, Copilot for Excel, so on and so forth, right? Copilot for Sales, GitHub, Copilot, like there's a lot. So when you hear the word Copilot, it's talking about AI assistant that Microsoft offers, but pretty much every product they have has their own Copilot. So that being said, let's talk about Copilot for Microsoft 365. What is it, right? So Copilot for Microsoft 365 is essentially an AI assistant that's available for the Microsoft 365 cloud. How is it built? It enables the use of natural language powered by Azure OpenAI. And with natural language, it's the way you interact with it. But the engine behind it is made up of four things. Number one, it's made up of large language models. So these large language models are uh, leveraging information that's already out there on the internet. But in addition, it builds your custom large language models within your own tenant. So for your customers that are using Copilot for Microsoft 365, the beauty of this is it's secure because whatever questions they ask, whatever data it looks into, it's limited within the tenant. So that's number one. Unlike ChatGPT, for those that may use ChatGPT, all that is public. So whatever information you feed to ChatGPT, ChatGPT saves it, which means other people can have access to that. Whereas with this, it's all limited to your tenant, it's safe and secure. So that's one. Number two is it takes advantage of Microsoft Graph. If you're not familiar with Microsoft Graph, this uh, is a collection of all the people, the data, the access, the information within your tenant. So it makes it contextual, but also apart from accessing the data, it respects all the permissions, all the security that's currently defined. So when you think about security, it's no different than who has access to the SharePoint site or the Teams or the document. Copilot respects all that. So as long as those are set up correctly, if I ask for stuff from Copilot and I'm not supposed to see it, Copilot will not show it. It works with all the apps, which I'll show some demos in a second, Word, PowerPoint, Teams, what have you. And then it also relies on the internet. So let's say it needs to find information that you cannot find within your tenant. It's going to go out the internet and grab it for you. So this is how Copilot is built and what it's made of. And it's built on Microsoft's comprehensive approach around security, compliance, privacy, and responsible AI, which is great. So rest assured, not only your information is protected, but the use of Gen AI is protected as well. Now, these are Microsoft's AI principles, which is really good because Microsoft, frankly, is leading the way on a lot of these responsible AI use. And so, so how can you start preparing for this and take advantage of it? So on the surface, we all know the benefits of Gen AI. As Perry mentioned earlier, internally, you can take advantage of it for a lot of the knowledge work, a lot of the coding. But what's your goal, right? Is it increase productivity? In some cases, you may want to cut costs, and how AI can help. So these are the type of questions that not only you think about for yourself, but also these are the questions you ask your customers as well, because customers are relying on your expertise, and this is how you can guide customers to really take advantage of AI, in this case, Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now, Copilot for Microsoft 365, again, is grounded in the business data, it's secure, it's architected to protect data, which is very important, and we'll talk more about data in a second. And it's integrated into the day-to-day use of the apps that your users have. And the last part, which I love, it learns. So based on all the data you have, based on the prompts that's being asked through time, it learns. So one important thing that we should not forget, Microsoft's very intentional on the name Copilot. Notice they did not call it autopilot, but it's Copilot. It's an assistant. So the idea is whatever Copilot generates, we as human beings is still responsible for checking, validating, etc. And since it's Gen AI, sometimes you may hallucinate, right? So this is a very important aspect of this technology where you cannot, make it go autopilot. Long story short, you don't want it self-driving just yet. It can help you a lot, but that's the intent is to help you. You still have to create the finished product. Okay, so let's take a look. So before I'm going to do some demos here, maybe in the chat, I'm curious to find out who's already using Copilot. If you're using Copilot, just pop in the chat, say, I've used it, or put a thumbs up. I just want to get a good understanding of who's used this already. In I'm happy to show some other demos as well. So if you've used it, okay, Melissa has, awesome. So let me show you some quick examples of how powerful Copilot is. So this is Microsoft 365 with Copilot enabled. So today you can go and procure Copilot from Microsoft 365, even if you just want it for 1 user or 2 users, you can do that. And it does two things, and it does two things really well. Number one, it can help productivity, meaning, it can help you with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. But the second thing it could do is you can essentially use natural language and talk to it as if you're talking to a colleague and ask for information. It can search for information really well. So let me first show you some of the capabilities around productivity. So let me go ahead and create a Word document. And this is Microsoft Word with Copilot. So let's say I want to create, I'm a vendor and I'm doing some work for a customer. So I want to write an executive summary, right? An executive, write a 3-page executive summary of why it's important to establish a strong data foundation before implementing Copilot for Microsoft 365. Okay. So notice I just put that prompt. I'm very specific. I want you to create 3 pages of a summary and make a case on why a strong data foundation is important. Check this out. Isn't this crazy? If you read this, first of all, it's going to generate this in less than a minute, which is really cool. And think about how much time this will save you. Because usually, what do we do? If I need to write some summary and then pitch it to a customer, I would do my research, I copy and paste, I get my thoughts together, and then I write. But look at this, right? Not only did it find the information, it wrote it in a very organized way. It came up with a conclusion, right? And and if you read this, where is it getting the information from? By default, it's going to grab it from your tenant. So if it finds enough information about this topic in your tenant, it's going to use that and build, in this case, the 3-page summary. Now, if it doesn't find enough information in your tenant, it's going to go out to the internet and grab the data. Right? So to establish strong data foundation, you should review, audit your data sources, etc. And then, it may look good. I can do another prompt. I can say rewrite it in French. How about that? So now, for friends that are familiar or fluent in French, I see there's some few folks here from Belgium. Let's see, and maybe some of you can speak French, right? Uh, so for those seeing this right now who can speak French, is it pretty good? Is it good enough? Because I can't speak French, so let me know if it's good enough. Pop in the chat. You could just say "oui." But again, really, really cool. So so now you can see why Copilot costs $30 a user a month. So folks in this call, do you think for what it can do, is it worth it? Is it worth $30 extra on top of your um, Microsoft 365 licensing? Certainly, you're not going to get this for every single person in the company, but let me know. Hop in the chat. Is it worth it or not worth it? Just based on, yeah, Mohammed. Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is very cool, right? So what if I want to do next? Okay, now I'm going to take this, right? Because now, you know, I agree, Tony. It's still expensive, and that's why we're not going to get it. Most likely, your customers are not going to get it for every single customer or every single user. But now here's what I'm going to do, friends. I'm going to copy the link of this document that it generated. And so it's copying the link. And then what I'm going to do next while it's doing that, I'm going to open PowerPoint. Okay. Did it copy it? Oh, it's still thinking. Hold on. Let me see. Let me go back. Let me see. Yeah, so this is the file. Let me see. Copy link. There you go. So I copied the link, right? So check this out, friends. So I'm in PowerPoint. So we go to Copilot. Oops. There you go. And then I'm going to ask Copilot to create a presentation from that Word document that was just generated. So here's what it's going to do. It's going to take the Word document, create the slides, and also create speaker notes. Again, if you're in sales, think how much time this is saving you when you're trying to create like a pitch deck. Right? And by the way, I forgot it's in French, so it's going to write this whole thing in French. It's generating the slides. There you go. Yeah. So Peter is just very impressed already. Peter, I guarantee you, this is a live demo. I'm just showing you basic things. And I'm not I haven't even shown you Excel. Excel is crazy. You can make it analyze data, create graphs, pivot tables without even just prompt it. Just say, hey, analyze the data, compare Q1 and Q2, and create a trending graph or whatever. Voila, there you go. Well, check this out, friends. Not only did it create the PowerPoint, but look at that. It has all the it has all the speaker notes on it, right? And then, now I can start tweaking this. I can say, okay, um, change the picture of the uh, first slide to a nice winter scenery of Copenhagen. So, so that, right? So now it's going to check it out. It's going to go grab an image, or maybe it's going to create an image. And let's see, there you go. You can say apply this brand, this template. Really, really cool. All right. So let me pause here for questions. Yeah. Okay. Let me check all the chat here. I have the chat on my phone. Only yeah, summarize Teams meetings. That's also pretty good. All the action items. Yep. So Teams, no question, right? You miss a meeting, it's going to summarize it, what have you. But this, now you can start seeing how this can help productivity. So that's the first thing right there. Right there, we just saw the power, right? So now let me go to the second capability. So the second capability of Copilot is it comes with essentially a chat interface. This will also show up in Teams. So it's just like talking to Chat GPT. So you can do things like list my agenda for today, right? So you can look at your calendar. It's going to tell you if you have anything going on today. And then you can even say, highlight my top three priorities. Yeah, the reason why I cannot find anything is because this is a test environment. I don't have anything on my calendar. Or I can say, list, find all the files I created with regards to the topic out AvePoint cloud backup. Right? So I may have PowerPoint, I may have Word document, and then it's just going to do it. And mind you, friends, it's not just going to do it, look for it in my OneDrive. It's going to look for it everywhere, Team, SharePoint, wherever I created these things. Look at this, right? This is just amazing. And these are just simple examples. There's a lot of other prompts you can use. They have a prompt library, and they would save all the previous chats you have. You can go back, right? Uh, like this one I did, Tell me why AvePoint Cloud Backup is necessary. And this is very important, right? Because we, as a software company, um, sometimes if I'm new, I need to pitch to my customer. I can quickly ask for it, and then it's drawing information within my environment, within my tenant. A lot of cool stuff, really. Okay. All right. So Chris, very good. We'll talk about that soon. So again, I'm looking at the chat. Tony, yeah, corporate branding. You can definitely do that. So in the PowerPoint example earlier, I can say, hey, apply my corporate branding. And if it has a reference to it, then boom, voila, it's gonna do it. So as you can see, this simple example um, is a game changer, right? For a lot of priority and a lot of productivity. And that's why you can see why customers are excited to get this going. Now, what's needed then to maximize this, right? Oh, let me, okay. So now that you know what Copilot can do, what's a necessary ingredient to get your customers ready or even to get yourself ready, right? We know all the benefits of Copilot, you know, deep search results, relevant, power of AI. But this area is very important because just like any Gen AI technology, be it ChatGPT or Copilot, it relies on your data. So what are some of the key considerations and elements of data? For one, storage. Second, what about data privacy, security and compliance, and then adoption? Because the issue with data is nothing new. It's just all these challenges around data are amplified with the use of AI, right? So now AI makes it so easy to work with data, and it's a catch 22, right? With great power comes great responsibility. If you have bad data, let's say I have 25 copies of the same document, how would it know which one is the most recent one, or how would it know which one is the source of truth? So that's one problem if you have a lot of copies. And even worse, what if you have permissions not set correctly, right? So job number one for all of us as we help customers, mind you, I'm not saying stop them from using this, but job number one is to educate and provide them context that for Gen AI to work beautifully, you need to have a strong data foundation. So how do you do that? It's a three-step approach to establish a strong data foundation. First and foremost, you need to prepare your customers' data set to start using Gen AI like Copilot for Microsoft 365. You need to lay the groundwork for success, right? So how do you do that? First things first, you need to centralize all the data in 365 for easy Copilot access. I'm sure some of your customers may still have disparate systems, right? Even though they're using 365, they may still have on-prem data. They may be using other cloud providers, Box, Slack, what have you. Well, all that's great, but if they want to take advantage of the power of Copilot, Copilot needs to see it within the tenant. And not only it needs to see it, it draws conclusion in context when everything's there. So the first step is really you need to centralize all the data and migrate it into Microsoft 365. Now, one of the ways we can help you to provide this service, so there's a lot of good opportunities there to provide migration services, is we have the industry's best migration tool to Microsoft 365 called Fly. Not only does Fly move on-premises file SharePoint to 365, but it could do tenant to tenant migration. It could do mailbox. It could do Box to OneDrive. It could do Slack to Teams. So it's a one-stop migration tools, cloud-based, that you can use to easily migrate data to 365. So that's the first part of preparing the data. The next part is as all the data is centralized in 365, you need to strengthen the quality of the data. And as we all know, almost all of our customers are digital hoarders. In fact, even ourselves were digital hoarders. There's just going to be stuff there that we don't need. These are known as your redundant, obsolete, and trivial data, rot. So in this screenshot, what you're seeing, we have a technology called AvePoint Opus, and partners use this to analyze the data. I'm not saying access, but analyze the data of your customers. And then it can break it down to say, hey, these are redundant, these are obsolete, these are trivial. And the idea is this, right? Obviously, if it's redundant, we get rid of it. Obsolete, maybe we don't want to delete it, but you can move it and store it elsewhere to save storage, right? Archive it, because you don't want Copilot to see it anyway. And then trivial data as well. And as you can see, it's very comprehensive. You can filter by type, by country, if you want, by department. So you can filter however you want. Right? You can even put filter, only show me anything that's 5 years or older. So this is the second part of preparation. You move everything, and then you analyze for what's redundant, obsolete, and trivial. And then the last step for preparing all this is one of the things that's important for Copilot to understand the context and also the access is classifying data. Now, for a lot of you in here who's familiar with SharePoint, right? We've been telling a lot of our customers that, hey, when you upload a file to a SharePoint site, make sure you classify it, you tag it, you put the right metadata. Now, how many of your customers do this, or even yourself for that matter? Anybody in the chat, let me know. Do you or your customers properly tag and classify data? Yes or no? You could just say yes, you could just say no. I'm just curious. Out of everybody in this call today, how many of you and your customers tag classify data? Okay, all right, yes, very good, Tony. Very good, Mohammed. And And this is not only for existing data, but for ongoing data as well. Right? Because as new content is created, one of the things that we also know, some of your data and some of your customers aren't really tagging it. So if you don't tag it, again, Copilot won't take advantage of it as good. So part of Opus is there's automatic classification and tagging. This is powered by AI. And what it's going to do is it's going to understand and learn the context of the file, and it's going to automatically put the proper classification, which will help Copilot understand the context. So that's the first step, preparing the data. Right? Now, the other part of preparing the data, let me show you one thing. Let me go back to my Copilot environment here. So let me go back and remember earlier I said create a 3-page or write a 3-page summary. Can I do this, right? A 10,000 page document complete with pictures and videos on the history of the world. Now, I'm not going to hit generate, but what's going to happen if I do this on a regular basis? By the way, it will do it. I've tried this. It will do it. So what's the implication? Folks in the chat, what's the implication? Imagine if you have a bunch of users having Copilot start doing things like this. What's the implication to Peter storage? Yeah, that's one. Absolutely. Because there's a limitation of storage for 365. Obviously, Microsoft's not going to stop you from increasing storage. It's more money from them. Okay, so that's one. Number two, what else? What's the other implication? CPU load? Not really, because this is all powered by the cloud. So you're really making a Microsoft infrastructure process all this. I mean, if I'm paying $30, might as well. The other implication is now you're creating tons of data that frankly may not even be relevant, right? So it's going to create a lot more potential irrelevant context for AI to pick up. So one of the things that you have to consider as you think about preparing your data, it's the ongoing, it's not only, moving it, cleaning it up, classifying it one time, but it's the ongoing optimization and classification of all the stuff that gets generated. And then from a storage perspective, you start thinking about, okay, once, because it's so easy to generate data, right? What's your strategy in optimizing storage? If the strategy is just, okay, we'll just keep paying money to Microsoft when we exceed the storage, and that's fine, but it can become costly. So you got to think about what's your storage optimization strategy. And again, technologies like AvePoint Opus can help you with that, because what it could do is it can move storage to a cheaper location, I don't know, AWS or other location, Azure, other than 365, but still create a stub as if it lives in 365, right? So I don't want to miss that. So those are just some of the things you have to think about. So the next thing is securing your data. Okay. Um, the idea is this, right? Is you need to establish a solid foundation just to make sure only the right people has right access to the information, right? So I'm going to show you a simple example here. Let me go back. I did this earlier in the interest of time just to make sure. So I create a chat. Um, I created, I typed this prompt earlier. Show me all the files that have salary information. I found a file titled this, right? Uh, can you list files that has password? Uh, I found a file titled password. Wait a minute, Doc. So what are you saying here? I mean, looks like these files are created by you. Sure, that's fair. But there's a high likelihood, because other people may not be securing the files appropriately. You could just say, hey, show me all the files that I have access to that has compensation information. And true story, we're working with a customer right now. They're piloting Copilot, 20,000 people organization. The first prompt IT did is say, what's the bonus of our CEO this year? And voila, the information showed up, and it was a Word document sitting in someone in HR's OneDrive. I'm sure that person was not malicious, but it was saved in the in a folder that everybody has access to. So stuff like this will happen before and even after you deploy Copilot. Because if you think about it, it's so easy to share content, right? Like, a lot of you share Word document or PowerPoint. So let's say, Tony shares a Word document with me. How would he know if I shared it with somebody else? He won't, right? And that's one scenario. The other scenario is, a lot of us are in Microsoft Teams, for example. And if somebody asks access to Teams from us, you get that email, hey, Dux is requesting access to the Teams. You just hit approve. You don't even think about it. You hit approve because, oh, Dux needs to see the conversations. But a lot of people don't realize is once you add that person to the team, guess what? They have access to all the files already, right? So automatically Copilot would think, oh, okay, since Dux has access to the team, he should have access to all the files. And this will continue happening because people won't remember every single thing you have to enable or disable or permissions you have to set, right? So the second step is to secure the data. How do you do this? You need to identify sensitive or overshared content. Today, there's no easy way to do this. The out of the box, the only way to do this is you've got to run PowerShell scripts and pull the information. That's why we created this technology called AvePoint Policies and Insights. And our partners use this on a regular basis where they help their customers identify sensitive and overshared content, right? Like, it can show you reports, things like how many external users you have, links, sensitive items, and sensitive is relative, right? It could be credit card number, bank account, phone number, employee information. And not only can it identify it with policies and insights, you can clean up permissions for existing stuff. You can say, you know what, revoke all the external sharing. Anytime there's employee information, only make it available to HR. So you can start cleaning it up and changing all the permissions for your entire tenant. But at the same time, your go forward strategy, you can automate it. You can make it easy for people to do the right thing. You can start putting in all these policies and say, all right, anytime new content is created with password or with compensation information, only HR should have access to it. That's it, right? So you can automate all these in the back end. So even if new content is created that may be sensitive, only the right people would have access to it. So now, hopefully, you're starting to see, right, how Copilot makes it very easy to access a lot of this type of information. Again, any questions so far? Feel free to pop in the chat. I'm looking at the chat on the other phone here. So that is the second step. So first, we prepare the data. Second, we secure it. Number three is we optimize the operations in the use of workspaces. Because at the end of the day, all this data would live in workspaces. What are workspaces? Workspaces are things like Teams or SharePoint or Viva Engage communities. And the idea is this: moving forward, you want to enforce go forward governance of data creation and classification. So in this scenario, you want to make it easy so that when, for example, your customers, their users are creating a team, you want to put the guardrails in place and say, hey, if they request for a new team, depending on who's asking, um, let's say HR wants to create a new team, you put in all the rules around HR, right? Only HR can access it, no other team member can access it, etc. So you can, on behalf of your customers, you can automate this. Hello? Yeah. So this is powered by our technology called AvePoint Cloud Governance. And again, on behalf of your customers, you can automate access to reviews and data lifecycle policies. So that's step three, right? So the way we think about building a strong data foundation is very comprehensive. And the good news is Copilot, yeah, it's rather new, but it's not a matter of if. Your customers will do this sooner or later. And what you can do today is get them ready. The last thing you want is customers procuring Copilot and then they realize, oh, our data is not ready. We're not going to use it yet, right? It's better to be proactive, uh, help your customers get this ready. In the short term, you prepared it, help them prepare their data, secure the data, and an ongoing basis, optimize the use and operations of it. We work with a lot of partners around the world. As Per mentioned earlier, I was in Stockholm yesterday. We have a lot of partners using our technology already and well on their way to get their customers ready for Copilot use. Now, before I talk about this last section, any questions on establishing a strong data foundation before I talk about how you set up different services and enable recurring revenue? Any questions? Happy to answer it. Does changes within access require authentication on a daily? Um, can you expound further, Casper? Feel free to come on mic. I want to make sure I understand your question. Are you talking about like who, for example, somebody, a group of people have access to a Word document and they need to be authenticated every day. Is that what you're thinking about?
No, I mean if you have a responsible in terms of dictating which data is available to whom in the organization, and that particular person ends up being mad at the organization or makes a mistake in terms of what data people can gain access to.
Sure.
Is there requirements in terms of multiple authentications so you secure that the right accesses are given?
Great question. So now I understand. Actually, it doesn't work quite that way. The way access control to data in 365 behaves is really no different for how it is today. So for example, right, let's say, again, I have a Word document, simple example, and I somehow I shared it accidentally with an external user. And Copilot would only see that, right? It doesn't realize that I'm not supposed to share with an external user. So the way it is out of the box is the person, whoever, in this case me, should be aware and responsible that I shouldn't have shared that with an external user. Copilot doesn't care about that because it trusts that you're doing the right thing. What I've just shown you here earlier, where you secure your data, we can now put with insights and policies, and you can help your customers with this, is put the automation behind if I still do it in Word, right? So I go, share external data, but then policies and insights will see it and say, wait a minute, Docs is sharing a Word document with credit card number. It's against policy to share it externally. So policies and insight won't even if I share it externally, it won't even allow it. So it's not even going to happen. So the idea is you have this layer of policy monitoring essentially that's active all the time, that even if people are sharing this and doing that, it knows what to do on behalf of the person. So it makes it easier for people to do the right thing. And then whatever permissions is set on the data, that's what Copilot looks at. Copilot will not make any judgment who is shared to or not. If it's defined that way, Copilot will trust that it's the right people that has access to it. Does that answer your question, Casper?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
You bet. Yep. Cool. So by the way, for folks on the call, Lars, would Microsoft Copilot not make distinction on classified data based on policy set by customer? Absolutely, it would. But that's assuming the customer have properly and regularly and being well disciplined, doing the proper classifications and permission setting. So you're exactly right. The catch is, would every single person be doing the right thing within their 365 tenant? In my experience, that's really not the case. The bigger the environment, frankly, the more challenging it is. So what you can help your customers with is introduce capabilities, provide services to automate a lot of these policy enforcement. You take their policies and you build it in through our technology and automate it. And we'll talk about recurring revenue, how you introduce this service. But you're exactly right, Lars. Again, this is assuming all the classification, all the permission, all the policies are always set correctly. And whatever Copilot sees in the graph, that's what it's going to trust. All right, so what are some of the business models you can look into? One of the first things that you can do today, since this is so new, what you can offer to your customers are readiness services, right? So first, you can just do a quick discovery session with your customer. You can perform a comprehensive review of all of their business needs as well as what they have. And you can use our tools to do this. So for example, you can scan their 365 environment with our Opus file analysis tool, and you can show them what's redundant, what's obsolete, what's trivial, right? And you can, walk through essentially what I walked through with you, what the key components are of a strong data foundation. And then the next step is you can do an assessment engagement where you can lay the groundwork now. You can start act upon what you discover, right? Oh, let's start cleaning up all your rot. Let's move your old data to another storage location, etc. Let's let's scan your environment and make sure all the permissions are set and secure it. And then you can do a pilot with it. So these are very specific engagement models that you can start doing. And in fact, we have later I'll show you, we have all the assets you can use to start building a business around it. In the other part is when you think about recurring revenues, right? So it's in some cases you want to help them move and centralize all the data in 365. So that's the initial migration, which is a one-time opportunity. The big business is in the managed services aspect, where post migration you can start doing data protection with our backup technologies. And for those that's already in the cloud, you could do data protection and also data security with our policies and insights technology. So, some examples, right? So let's say you have a new customer, or you want to centralize all their data, or there's an M&A. So let's say you're going to help your customers do tenant to tenant, right? Not just with Teams or maybe, all the files as well. You want to help them clean it up. You want to help them proactively secure and manage access. And how can you help? You could do a security and activity audit, and then you can provide them with reports, and you can automate all of this on a regular basis as well as a part of your collaboration security services. This is an example that one of our partners did for Sainsbury on the UK, and again, it's securing a lot of the data they have, preparing them for Copilot. Some examples, right, on what a selling motion would look like. You can offer a secure collaboration service solution on a recurring monthly basis. For X more dollars, you can offer this. You can provide them with monthly security reports. So, for example, for our policies and insights, when partners use it, it could generate a report with your logo on it, and you can send that to the customer. So that's one example of a selling motion you can have for your customers, centralizing 365 as their collaboration platform. And then once they're there, you can offer data protection, because we've seen a lot of situation either 365 goes down or there may be ransomware situation. They would still have access to their data in situations like those through a data protection offering, which certainly we help a lot of customers in provide partners the tools to do it through our cloud backup, but also provide the security on top of it as well, which is our policies and insights. So in this example, again, customers having this solution, being able to have peace of mind that their data is secure, but also access, only the right people have the right access to it. So this is another example of a selling motion where you can provide a security risk assessment, which, by the way, for those that haven't used AvePoint Pi, you can sign up today through our partner platform called Elements and use this for free for 30 days. You can start assessing, your customer's tenant and show them what are some of the high risk areas. And once you identify those, you can analyze the gaps and provide data protection. And you can offer this again as a recurring services opportunity as well. Share the link. Sure, Tony. So all you have to do is go to avepoint.com/partners and you sign up there, and you have access to our Elements portal, also to AvePoint Pi. Yeah. And certainly I have colleagues on this call too that can help. But just go to avepoint.com/partners, you can sign up. The other thing I wanted to show that we just released last week is our Copilot for Microsoft 365 campaign in a box kit. Give me 1 second here. Here you go. So this is available in our partner portal. what we've already done is we've created, oops, let me see. Let me make this bigger. We've created, so let me, there you go. So if you log into our partner portal, we've already created a checklist, if you may, right, on how you build your business around it. So strategic approach, you have sample PowerPoint, sample pitch deck, how you market it, sample blog, sample social, brochure, and how you go to market, right? We have sample statement of work, etc. So very comprehensive offering that you can start building a business around. And we have a lot of these go-to-market toolkit, not just for Copilot. We're coming out with one for data protection. We're coming out with one for collaboration security. So our goal is to help you expand your business as you help your customers navigate this new world of Copilot. So with that, let me go back to my slide here. So with that, let me go back here. Any questions? Any questions at all? Yeah, let's see. One of scan show the. Yes, so Tony, yeah, you can use the initial scan right away, and it's free. Sign up as a partner, you can take advantage of it right away. How about unstructured data outside of 365? Out of scope? Yes. So Lars, if your question is scanning outside of 365, yes, the tool doesn't work. So that's why it's important. Well, so let me clarify. If you're talking about security scanning, it only scans 365. But in addition, the whole idea is you want to get your customers Copilot ready, and Copilot doesn't see unstructured data outside of O365 tenant as well. Hopefully that's helpful. Great questions. Great questions. What do you all think? Has this been helpful? Would love to answer more questions, but I just want to get a quick pulse and quick feedback on the topic we went through. I want it to be very concise and specific and straight to the point. Would love to know if this is useful for you. And while you're doing that, the other thing I want to share is I host a regular podcast with customers around the world. Every couple weeks, I release an episode called Shift Happens Podcast. It's on iTunes, Spotify, all your favorite platforms. Make sure you check it out. Just make sure you spell it correctly, or else you get a different podcast. But you get ideas of conversations with customers in Microsoft around where the modern or the digital workplace is heading. So let me stop here. And like I said, we recorded this and we'll share this. Well, gang, thank you. What do y'all think? Just give me some emojis or or chat. Would love to get feedback from you all. But so grateful for all of you joining today. Thank you. We'll share all this information. We'll share the recording. Hopefully, it's well worth your hour, 15 minutes or so. But yeah, let's keep in touch, and looking forward to be working with you all and help grow your business with Copilot for Microsoft 365. Thank you so much, and have a phenomenal rest of the afternoon. Bye-bye.